Dear ones, I am Archangel Michael. Continuing our story. I understand that I have already managed to pass on to you a good part of what happens to you today, of why. So once again I will go back in time. I will go back to the great eras, trying to explain to you the power of feelings, of what you vibrate, of what you feel. Going back a little further, let's talk about the big cities, Atlantis and Lemuria. I don't need to say that they were cities where harmony and balance existed, as all the beings that arrived here, first in Lemuria, then in Atlantis, had the objective of developing on this planet. It's as if a piece of each planet came here. It's like I already explained to you, my brothers, you like to travel, you want to live in other countries, in other places, in the same way, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Sirians, Venusians, Andromedans, everyone who was around this galaxy, knew about the existence of this planet, and wanted to come here for a change of scenery. Why not? This planet has always been very beautiful, it has always had a lot of diversity in everything. In nature, on Earth, in its oceans. It was a complete planet. So many came here. Its seas were not so populated. There were fish, only fish, and they were in abundance, there was no shortage. Nothing on the planet existed in imbalance. Everything existed in balance. Animals fed within the food chain, but without the feeling, that feeling, of power, of greed for territory. The animals lived in total harmony. Many think that when animals kill to eat, it is a grotesque spectacle and difficult to see, and they think this is wrong. My brothers, understand this, everything has to have a balance. If animals didn't feed on each other, within the food chain, what sense would there be in having so many different species? What would be the point of having different types of animals? None, because there would be another way of eating. So I already told you this here, but I'll repeat it. Notice that the smaller the animals, the more easily they reproduce. Why? Because they serve as food for other animals. The larger the animal, the less of this chain it consumes, and the animals that are most easily attacked are those that reproduce most easily. So my brothers, there is a balance. This balance needs to exist, but not killing for the sake of killing, as was also changed in animals, in which they should maintain their own territory to the detriment of others, because there was plenty of food for everyone, there was no war over food, there was balance, there was no attack on humans, because humans never attacked them. So that feeling of defense, that the animal attacks the human. I agree that it can often be hunger, but because he has already seen in that being, an enemy being that can be slaughtered. But this didn't happen, because everyone respected each other. Animals lived among humans. It's a phrase you'll hear me say many times, everything in balance. So when there is balance, everything works harmoniously, nature, animals, and humans. Nature was abundant, a lot of food, fruits, foods from the earth, never animals. That's why there was balance. You didn't kill animals to eat. They didn't kill animals for power, and you had the ability to stay balanced, just with light. You received the vital force, and often you didn't even need to feed, depending on each person's level of evolution. So that saying, living on light, was possible. For those who already had a great evolution, this was perfectly possible, but you often ate the fruits, ate what came from the earth, and got fed up with it. Good. With the arrival of little friends, not so balanced, that all changed. The imbalance started precisely with the animals, because they realized that animals, no matter how violent they were when killing for food, did not attack humans. So they saw a possibility of breaking this balance. Then the animals were also manipulated into wanton slaughter, even among themselves, and they started to kill for the simple fact of seeing the other as an enemy, not just as prey. As a consequence of this, they started to see humans as enemies too, and then the imbalance was installed. Some animals in the oceans have been modified to attack humans, but many have also been bred to maintain balance. Many animals were brought to their oceans by the Syrians. They were responsible for populating their oceans with beautiful, large, voluminous animals that maintained balance within the oceans. You had direct contact with the dolphins. Why, today you do experiments and you already realize that they talk to you, which are extremely intelligent animals. And this is not a lie, this is not the illusion of some scholars. You communicated with dolphins, and they really are extremely intelligent animals, as they have a lot of intelligence. Let me do a separate one. Many of you ask if animals have souls. If at some point during a soul's evolution, a soul may be an animal. So that's a good topic, for this little aside. When the soul is created, it has a purpose, which is to wear an outfit, no matter where, put on an outfit, and evolve, reach the high dimensions. It's not a quick path, it's not an easy path, it's a long, laborious path, but souls can do it. What are animals? I already told you that souls have their own consciousness, exactly like us, like me, but there is a difference. I am not a soul, because I do not incarnate, I never receive clothing, I remain energetic all the time. In the same way as souls, others, let's try to find a word to define them, other clusters of energy are also created, with consciousness, yes, more of a consciousness of survival, a coexistence of society, of maintaining life, which are animals. I cannot call you souls, because you are not souls, otherwise it would be very difficult to differentiate your souls from the souls of animals. So it's not soul, it's a set of energy, to make it easier, because within your world, there is no word that can define it. So they are a set of energy with a consciousness of survival, with a consciousness of society, so that they live in society, so that they know that they have to eat to stay alive and so on. So you realize that a soul, at some point in its journey, transforming into an animal, is not part of that soul's directive, because it would have to lower its evolution a lot, to be an animal. However, I can say this, nothing is impossible. So if a soul, at some point in its journey, decides to make this small regression, and come in the skin of an animal to experience other feelings, because animals also have feelings, they are not simply meat and food, they have feelings. So this can happen, but it is a decision of the soul, and it is something very well planned and has to be authorized. That's not it. Today Alma woke up wanting to be an animal, she goes and changes. No, it's not like that, it's not a mess. There is a whole process that this soul has to go through so that it does not lose its properties as a soul, I will call it human, so that it can later return to incarnation in a new guise. So it's not simple at all, it is a very delicate and dangerous process. So it can't be done like that at will. Very good. So you will agree with me, that each animal has a behavior, each animal has certain habits, certain ways of living, some very rustic, others more intelligent, that is, the consciousness of these animals is much more developed, but they continue to be animals. They are not souls, which when they leave there will incarnate again, except in the situations in which I mentioned. It's not the rule. It is a very rare exception. So I can tell you that dolphins and whales are very intelligent animals. Whales, due to their large size, command respect in the oceans. Someone has to put order in the house. The playful dolphins protect you from some more voracious animals, which have been strategically modified for this purpose, such as sharks, and they get along very well with you, with any race, with any outfit. I'm talking to you, because we are talking about Earth. So, you in Lemuria, in Atlantis, lived among dolphins. You played with them, and what's more, you talked to them, because you learned their language. When I speak, they understand the language. Please don't understand everyone sitting in a chair chatting and talking about life, please, they are small words, they are small gestures, love, affection, food, hunger, little words. There is no dolphin dictionary, there is an understanding, between gestures, some grunts they make, and you could understand. So it was a completely harmonious coexistence, since you didn't attack the animals either. You began to attack when you needed to defend yourself, because through the modification that was made, the balance began to be broken. And what was the feeling that occurred in these cases? It was always fear, because you previously walked through the forests, walked wherever you went, and any animal you encountered was worthy of a caress, you were treated with respect, and you treated them with respect. No one invaded each other's space. So you were not afraid. Fear was a feeling you did not know, it was a feeling you had never experienced, because you viewed everything from a high level. Very good. From the moment you started going to the forest and never came back, and were discovered having been attacked by animals, a new feeling began to emerge in you, fear. The fear of leaving that perimeter where you lived, to go to the forest. So you started to defend yourselves, you started to arm yourselves. The spears were your weapons, something you had never used. And then it all started. The imbalance began there, with this feeling being increasingly disseminated among you, other low vibration feelings began to emerge in you. Remember, many may be here thinking, hey, but if they were such evolved souls, why did they have these feelings? Did you forget our classes? Have you forgotten that no one is born in the 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th dimensions? That you all go through a process in Tercera, to precisely experience these feelings? Did you forget that? So these feelings existed within all of you, they were just deeply dormant, because you did not cultivate these feelings, but they existed. And they started to emerge again. The fear, the dread, all those feelings you have when you don't know what's coming in the future. And this was unbalancing you. Meanwhile, those who arrived here manipulated their planet, they created all sorts of technologies to disrupt Gaia. They were already exploring and mining Gaia at that time, as it was from what they found here that they decided to stay. And then a whole process of imbalance began to happen. They presented themselves to you as beings from other galaxies, but not as evil beings, they came as extremely kind beings, presenting many modern things, many new things, which filled the eyes of those who were the masters of that time. Understand this, my brothers, there was no evil there. You only resonated with very high feelings. So it was very difficult for you to admit, to understand, that a group had arrived that wasn't so nice. As I already said, some priests noticed the imbalance in them, because they were not fooled by the sweet words, and by everything they had brought. They were quite worried. So why did the imbalance start to happen? Because they managed, first, through a lot of conversation, to put some feelings, those that were dormant, in the minds of the great rulers. Because there were rulers, and they were very cunning in this, because they didn't just talk to one, they talked to everyone. So when the thing was disseminated, it was disseminated to everyone. So there was no one to dispute anything, and the ideas were so wonderful, so extremely beneficial, that everyone accepted them. Remember, you were in a 5th dimension society, where everything is only done when it is good for the whole. Of course, his priests did not agree, because they felt that there was something strange there. Then another imbalance begins to emerge, that of power, because they could do nothing until everyone agreed on what should have been done. To culminate the process, those began to pass on some, I won't call them weapons, but some very interesting powers to those rulers, for those rulers. But the whole did not agree, the whole did not accept. So those thoughts of, I want, I command, I do, I decide, started to appear in the heads of some of these rulers, and the imbalance began to set in. As I've said a few times here, nothing happens overnight. This has been happening for a long time. It wasn't fast at all. So tomorrow we will continue this story. But think about it, how easy imbalance is, how easy it is for you to be involved in a web of power, of greed, even if you vibrate high. Remember, they were beings from the highest dimension and they let themselves get involved. So once again, I will tell you the following, don't judge yourself so much, because, if those very high-dimensional beings let themselves get involved, everyone is susceptible. No one is immune to these feelings. Tomorrow we will continue this story. I am Archangel Michael. I'm here, ready, to open your minds a little, so that you understand that you are not perfect, and you don't have to be perfect. You have to just be light and balance.